breaking down the deals, data, and disruption shaping global markets. You're listening to The Daily Ledger with Dennis Sert.
Yo, what's going on, you guys? Dennis here. Welcome to a Thursday morning, October 30th. I am your host, Dennis Sert. Okay, let's just go ahead and go through some of this news. So, first thing we have here is the rate cut. How exciting. Let's get that on stage here. So, the Fed cut 25 basis points off of the federal interest rate, which is kind of nice. And it seems like Jerome Powell has said that December rate cuts may not be guaranteed. So here's this article from the Wall Street Journal. Fed divisions reveal new caution over continued cuts. Powell warns against assuming another rate cut is a done deal as officials navigate an economy where spending is solid but hiring has slowed. Yeah, so we've been talking about how hiring is slowed. It's actually not looking too good. And yeah, so this is good. It's easing the economic situation a little bit in terms of, actually doing the cut. And then in terms of sort of the hesitance for December, I mean, it's kind of early, isn't it? And there's still a full month until December 1st. And I think the FOMC meeting is in the middle of the month, so about a month and a half then. Yeah, so there's still some time until then. So this is kind of looking like a hit piece, to be honest, because it's kind of irrelevant. What's going to happen to December? Like, anything can happen. And when I say hit piece, I don't mean like just this one article, but sort of the overall sentiment, because the sentiment is also echoed on the New York Times as well as X and everything. But yeah, so there's our first story. Nvidia is now worth $5 trillion as it consolidates power in the AI boom. The AI chip maker has become a linchpin in the Trump administration's trade negotiations in Asia. Yeah. So they surpassed Apple and Microsoft. So Nvidia did. And given the prevalence of AI, it only seems like they're going to go up from here. So there's that. I added Nvidia to the Byte AI portfolio. So when we get there here in a short while, we can take a look at what Byte AI thinks. Yeah, so there's that. I thought one thing that I thought was kind of funny. I need to remember, who was it? Howard Lutnick who said this quote. He's the Secretary of Commerce. He said, "Oh, we're not, just in terms of like selling to China, like chips to China." He's like, "Oh, we're not selling our first best chips or best chips. We're not selling our second best chips. We're not even selling our third best chips to China." And I was just thinking, and this was back in July, and I was thinking like, okay, this is such a dumb thing to say. Like, even if it's true, I mean, which it probably is, but even if it's true, like, why say that? Like, it just left a bad taste in my mouth. And then of course China sort of wasn't happy about that either. I mean, that's just a power trip right there. Very unnecessary unnecessary power trip is at that. So Howard Lutnick. Anyways, I just thought of that after reading the title of this article here. But as Jensen Huang, the chief executive of the chip-making giant Nvidia, traveled to Asia to meet with President Trump on Wednesday, his company's value topped $5 trillion. It was a show of wealth that would have been unthinkable a few years ago. But that was before the ChatGPT chatbot ignited an artificial intelligence boom that is remaking the global economy, and it is. Let's move on to the government shutdown. So that's sort of ongoing. I think the vote, just to take a step in, because into politics, it does affect finance. But I will just kind of like curb it here though. It looks like the vote is at 54. So it passed the House, and then at the Senate, it's kind of stalled at a 54 to a 45 vote, and it needs 60 votes to pass the continuing resolution. So that's why we're sort of in this situation. And the result is that the EBT, or the food stamps, or the SNAP benefits, they're not going to be reloaded for the I think 42 million SNAP benefit recipients this upcoming November 1st, so in a couple of days. So effectively, we can say that SNAP benefits and food stamps end tomorrow, for as long as the government shutdown continues. So that's not very good. So the New York Times: more Americans may soon feel the shutdown's effects. More paychecks aren't going out, and nutrition benefits may lapse. The government shutdown is growing more painful, and the fight over why is intensifying. Yeah. So I guess, yeah. It's the 29th day of the government shutdown. When was this? October. Okay, so this article's from yesterday, and the pain for certain groups of people, like federal workers, has been profound. But a curious feature of this shutdown is how little the broader public seems to care about it, at least compared with previous shutdowns. Yeah, well, this one's the longest going one. And apparently it's like a full shutdown rather than a partial shutdown. In the past, there have been partial shutdowns. So this is tough. It's tough. Okay. So moving on to President Trump in China meeting with President Xi Jinping. Apparently, the meeting was from a scale of 0 to 10, it was a 12, according to President Trump. Some of the immediate effects of their meeting were that there's a 10% cut to tariffs from the U.S. to China. So we, as in the U.S., are cutting 10% of our tariffs. China is cutting their fentanyl chemical / ingredient exports. They're buying American soybeans. So those are some material effects of what happened as a result of the meeting. Apparently, President Trump and President Xi came together on Ukraine. They seem to be sort of in accord on that, I guess. President Trump, though, said that the U.S. will begin nuclear testing once again. And it's the first time in about 30 years that this has happened, that we've tested nuclear weapons. And it seems to be in response to both China and Russia continuing their testing of nuclear weapons. So that's not very good, but yeah. Oh yeah, and then one more thing. China has agreed to not restrict as much their rare earths as they were planning on doing for about a year. So 1 year. It's a 1 year trade truce. But I saw a quote by President Trump that said that it'll probably be extended. So U.S. and China agreed to a 1 year trade truce after Donald Trump Xi Jinping talks, per the Financial Times. Donald Trump and Xi Jinping have agreed to postpone export controls on rare earths and ships as part of a broad one-year trade deal reached by the U.S. and Chinese leaders at a summit in South Korea. The U.S. and China have also reached agreements on American tariffs related to fentanyl and tit-for-tat levies on each other's shipping industries, as both leaders sought to ease tensions in their first meeting in 6 years. Has it been 6 years since 2019? How crazy is that? Trump said the two sides have settled the dispute over rare earths, minerals critical to global manufacturers. China dominates the supply chain for rare earths and imposed sweeping export controls earlier this month that sparked a dramatic escalation in tensions. Nice. Okay. Let's move on. Exclusive. So this is from fortune.com. Exclusive. MasterCard poised to acquire crypto startup Zero Hash for nearly $2 billion, sources say. So this is kind of interesting because yesterday we were talking about how Citi and Coinbase made a deal, especially regarding stable coins and sort of like back-end payments, back-end infrastructure for global payments. And so that was only on October 27th. So that was, I guess, released, publicized 2 days ago. And so now immediately, like 2 days after, 48 hours after that, MasterCard says, okay, we're going to do Zero Hash for nearly the same reason. MasterCard has its sights on another crypto company. The payments Goliath is said to be in late-stage talks to acquire the crypto and stablecoin infrastructure startup Zero Hash for between $1.5 and $2 billion, according to 5 sources familiar with the deal who asked for anonymity to discuss private business discussions. Okay, so MasterCard doesn't want to be late to the game. I mean, maybe both of them at the same time were working on it, and then Coinbase and or Citi announced first. And it's funny because, you know, of course you can say, oh, they have nothing to do with each other. Yeah, no. What's funny though is that MasterCard, even though the deal isn't done yet, they're just in late stage talks. They felt the need to sort of pub this. So that's kind of funny. I think that means that they felt the pressure from Citi and Coinbase. They felt FOMO. MasterCard succumbs to FOMO. That's the new article headline. Let's see. Oh man, watch this. So I just changed this and inspect element, but that's the new article headline. Of course I'm kidding, but okay. Yeah, so here's this other article, and this is the last one in this run here, but from TechCrunch. YouTube announces voluntary exit program for US staff. Yikes. YouTube is conducting a voluntary exit program with severance for US-based employees, the company confirmed to TechCrunch on Wednesday. The news was first reported by, and then whatever sources I got there. YouTube CEO Neil Mohan told employees about the program via an internal memo on Wednesday. Wow. Well, this is definitely falling in line with UPS, Amazon, Whole Foods, all of these guys Yeah, so oof. I mean, it seems like big tech just really doesn't want people anymore. I mean, this is kind of crazy. It kind of 'cause- so I mentioned yesterday or the day before that my background was in computer science. Um, if I wasn't doing a startup, I don't know if I would want to study computer science if I wasn't in startup land. Um, I mean, just look at this, right? Mm, no bueno. Yeah, but there's definitely a pattern. Yeah, maybe like physics or math or something. I don't know. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. But yeah, so YouTube's doing that, of course, subsidiary of Google. So we'll have to see. I heard, I don't have it up right now, but I heard Meta had basically made good profit in Q3, and then the stock went down apparently because I guess their expenses were high or something. Well, what does that mean for Q4? I mean, what's Zuckerberg gonna say when he sits down and thinks, what, even though we made good revenue, um, why did our stock fall? So what's he gonna do then? He's probably gonna start cutting jobs. Yeah. So there's that. But okay, so that's what I got right now. One thing I want to check, and I'm going to check this live real quick. Meta Q3. Yeah, so I guess earnings are out. Yeah, so yeah, down 7% after hours. Revenue 51.2 billion, projected was 48.5 billion. Wow, they really did beat projected in literally billions of dollars, and yet it was down. Meta stock falls nearly 10% after missing Q3 2025 earnings expectations due to a 15.9 billion one-time expense. Oh wow, I wonder what that one-time expense was. Oh yeah, someone asked Grok. 15.9 billion one-time expense in Meta's Q3 2025 earnings was a non-cash tax charge for future income taxes, per their report and financial analyses. This dragged down EPS, but revenue hit records. Okay. Alrighty. Well, let's switch to Byte AI, shall we? Let me log in here. And let's get some stocks going. I've been kind of thinking about doing this on iOS. I might think about that for next time, but since we're here right now, let's stick with this. Make sure to download Byte AI. It's available as an iOS app as well as a web app like so. Also as an API. It's basically a stock news aggregator, technical indicator aggregator. Uses LLMs to review everything and kind of come up with a succinct analysis. Easy to understand, especially if you're on this view here. It just shows up as green or red or gray for neutral. And then you can choose to click in and read some of the details on that. I use it every morning. I'll use it in tandem with Robinhood, but remember that it's not a financial advisor. Of course, past success doesn't guarantee future results. But it is a fun tool, a useful tool in our stock buying journey. So how about that? Let's start with Nvidia. It seems like it's overbought. Nvidia shows clear overbought signals. RSI is about 70.8. Wow, that's a high RSI because baseline is 50, indicating extreme overbought conditions. The price is sitting essentially at the upper Bollinger Band with a very narrow bandwidth, suggesting squeezed momentum and a higher probability of mean reversion. Okay. I'm gonna quickly look. Nvidia Yahoo Finance. Let's look at that chart real quick. Okay, yeah, so it is a little bit down today. Looks like, yeah, short-term action today is negative, about negative 1.5%, while the stock has seen strong weekly and monthly gains, and sentiment remains mixed to cautious in the news flow. Yeah, extremely overbought. It's at 70. Wow. Okay, so there are a whole bunch of articles after Trump talks, lack of a chip deal seen as a tech independence issue. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. So this is from scmp.com. Amid the apparent absence of a concrete deal being reached with Washington and one of Beijing's long-standing points of trade contention, export controls on one of the most advanced semiconductors, analysts say it reflects China's increasing resolve to become more independent from the U.S. Yeah, well, when Howard Lutnick goes out and says, we don't even sell our third best chips to China, well, how do you think China's going to react? Right? I mean, it's, I still can't believe he said that. Like, what an idiot. Okay. Let's see what GPT-5 thought about the news analysis. Nvidia's news sentiment today is mixed and largely neutral. The most recent item is neutral for Nvidia, reflecting a cautious near-term stance. Earlier pieces show occasional bullish angles, a China tech independence narrative, and export control dynamics yield a somewhat bullish read for Nvidia, and coverage of Nvidia's role in autonomous flight carries a bullish signal. Other articles are in the set are neutral for Nvidia, including cybersecurity, AI services partnerships, and semiconductor supply chain vigilance. A recurring macro trend in the AI semiconductor demand cycle amid U.S.-China tech policy tensions is the AI semiconductor demand cycle, with no clear sign of an economic downturn in these stories. Overall, sentiment points to modest optimism around AI/automation adoption, but little evidence of a strong near-term directional move for Nvidia. Okay. Overbought. I don't think I have any Nvidia right now, so I guess I wouldn't be able to sell. Seems like some stuff are down right now. Okay. Dow Jones. Oops. Yeah, it looks like the market is down slightly. The NASDAQ is also down. I thought the meeting was 12 out of 10. What the hell? Okay. Amazon, I guess I clicked on Meta. Underbought Meta is extremely oversold based on multiple signals. Oh, wow. The RSI at 9.8. Wow, that is a very low RSI. It's probably because the market's down. Yet the oversold condition creates a setup for mean reversion. News sentiment is mixed to cautiously positive in the near term. Q3 results were aided by strength in some metrics, but clouded by a large one-time tax charge of 15.93 billion. Oh wow, see, it even caught that. How cool. The stock has been weak today, negative 12.43%. Wow. How spoiled are these like institutional investors, huh? I mean, Meta just made profit, and then the stock drops, about 12%. Like, can he? I mean, I know it's Zuck, and he's one of the most richest people in the world. He's one of the richest people in the world, but like, give the guy a break, right? I mean, don't tank the stock after they make profit. I mean, you can take the stock after they don't make profit. Yeah. Meta's latest coverage presents a mixed to cautiously positive near-term tone. The Q3 release was upbeat, EPS $1.05, but clouded by a large one-time tax charge of 15.93 billion. Yeah, we already talked about that. Okay, so let me get some Meta. They say buy when there's blood in the streets. Sorry for a lewd term here. Who said that? I think Warren Buffett said that, didn't he? Did Warren Buffett say buy when there's blood in the streets? Of course, figuratively, as in finance, stock market. Okay. It was Baron Rothschild. Okay. Warren Buffett has similar sounding quotes, so that's why I got mixed up there. But yeah, buy when there's blood in the streets, even if the blood is zero. Okay, so moving away from sort of that metaphysical analogy, it is quite red today, negative around 10%. Byte is admittedly behind by 15 minutes, so that's why there's a slight discrepancy there. But time to buy, as Mr. Baron Rothschild said. Okay. Let's put $200 into here. Okay. Cool. Amazon underbought, is deeply oversold with an RSI of 23.36, and the price sits near the lower Bollinger band with a narrow bandwidth, indicating a squeeze and a high likelihood of mean reversion towards the middle band. The stock has declined today around negative 1.96%, but has shown positive weekly and monthly momentum, hinting at stabilization and potential upside as the oversold condition unwinds. Oh, wow. It seems like overall across the board, it's kind of a good time to buy right now just because everything's down. Several pieces highlight earnings upsides, rising estimates, and strong AI push that could support a breakout, aligning with near-term momentum ahead of key results. Okay, time to buy some Amazon. Okay, I have 397 left, so let's put 100 of that into here. Buy. Nice. I kind of like Byte AI because it sort of conditions me to buy when it's red, which is indeed standard / industry standard, good practice. Because I was listening to the Finance Daily Show, and last week, one of the guys, his X handle is @worldstrategist. His name's Eric. He's like French Canadian. He's also Chinese, and he said the key to be a good stock portfolio manager, stock trader is you have to sort of be in control of your own emotions, namely FOMO. So when it goes up, and fear when it goes down, or panic when it goes down. So FOMO and panic, those are namely the two emotions to be a master of as a stock trader. So that's what he said on the Finance Daily Show, which I would recommend watching. It's a fun group. Okay, so what's going on with Tesla? RSI is around 51. Oh, yeah, that's not something I want to jump in on. Ooh. Okay, how's Microsoft doing? Yeah, Microsoft gets a pretty penny from OpenAI's for-profit reconsolidation. I think I have to double check, in the ballpark of 20%-ish. Yeah, underbought. RSI around 40. Is Nvidia stock overvalued? Sitting at $5 trillion valuation. I don't know. To be honest, probably not with the AI boom, but again, not a financial advisor. So make sure to make your own decisions. This is mainly an entertainment show, but still download by AI just as a tool. Okay, so I think we've covered everything I wanted to cover. So I think we can end it there. Thanks for joining us today, ladies and gentlemen, and have a great rest of your day. Peace.